Hi everyone, welcome to today's session on SmartSuite-Library for new users. My name is Quentin and I'm going to be your host for today. In the session today, we're going to be covering things that you need to do to get started with SmartSuite-Library. Just the basics of how to use the system, and then we're also going to go through how to communicate with our customer service team should you require any questions or you want to ask for any more advanced functions within the system. So today's session is going to be interactive. I will be able to communicate, or you will be able to communicate with myself. On the right hand side of your screen, there is a chat console that's available. Okay, so if you wanted to go ahead and ask any questions throughout the session today, chuck your questions in the console on the right hand side there. It'll come to myself and I'll do my very best to help you out and answer any questions that you might have. Okay, so let's jump into the SmartSuite-Library training. Now everyone should have received a welcome email from our customer service team. If you have not received your welcome letter, please email the team at support@functionalsolutions.com.au. Just let us know that you are a new user or you've come across from another system and you haven't received your welcome pack. Now what the welcome pack will contain is the URL for your site. So if you don't know what your URL is at the moment, that will be contained in the email. It'll also give you your username and password to log into the system. Okay, so obviously very valuable. There'll also be a couple of other links in there with different resources to get you started. So once again, if you haven't received that welcome pack, email support@functionalsolutions.com.au. If you have received your welcome pack and you've got all the information available, go to your URL and that's going to load the system for you. Now the system will allow us to search the database and look at any of the books or video resources or web links that are available for the public community. Okay, for us to gain access to any of the circulation, cataloging, administration functions, we need to tell the system who we are so that it can give us the relevant permissions. Okay, the way that we do that is by logging in. So top right hand corner, there is a blue sign in button. Okay, once again, the username will be contained in that welcome pack and is usually your email address. Okay, and then there will be a password. Okay, once the system has recognized your username and password, it's going to refresh and log you into the system. Now, the session today is going to be focused mainly on the administration side of the system. Okay, now with all of the admin areas of the system, there is going to be a common function that you need to be aware of. And that is our toolbar, which is found at the bottom of most of our screens. Okay, so if I go over to our circulation area, this is where we transact books in and out. Down the bottom of the screen, there's our toolbar, and you can see a host of different command buttons down there. If I go over to our cataloging screen, okay, there's our command toolbar. There's our toolbar down the bottom of the screen there with some command buttons again. And if I go over to patron management for a third example, there is our toolbar down the bottom of the screen. Okay, so the toolbar is really going to allow us to control what is happening on the screen there. You can see with patron management, we have some toggle buttons. Okay, so this will allow us to navigate through all the patrons that are in our system. Okay, one user at a time. We've got the ability to find a user, so I can search for a user's name, email address, barcode. When I find someone that looks of interest, clicking on their name will load their details into the screen for me. We can make some changes if we needed to and hit save. We can update the user's password. We can send them an email. We can delete the user if they're no longer at our school. Okay, so all of the commands that we can do with all of the various screens can be found in the toolbar at the bottom of the screen. Okay, so whilst we're in here at Patron Management, let's talk about adding a new user. So we've got a student or a teacher that's come to our school. They've come to the circulation desk and we can't find them on the system. Okay, we've got the ability to come to this screen here and add them in. Okay, so whenever we're dealing with patron information, first thing we need to do is top left-hand side of the screen, click on the system menu. This will load up all the areas of the system that we have access to. Scroll down to the patron option and then scroll to patron management. Okay, once we're in patron management, from our toolbar down at the bottom of the screen, we have a new button. Clicking new blanks out all the information. This is our new patron screen, and all we need to do is basically go in and fill in their details. Okay, barcode field. This is a mandatory field for all of our users. If you don't have a numerical barcode for your users, my recommendation is to put in either their user ID, username for your school, or their email address. Okay, if you do know their enrollment number, you can type or scan that in. Okay, username, if you've got access to what their username is on your network, you can enter that into the system. Okay, and then you've got your first name, surname fields. Okay, email address. Okay, you've got a security field. So security is more of an advanced function. You don't have to worry too much about that whilst we're setting up the system. If we've applied security to your year group levels, that will automatically be applied when we hit save. Okay. Next field is class grade. Okay, so this is the year level or the class group that the user is going to be assigned in. If I click on that, we can see a list of all the year levels that are currently in our system. Okay, so at your school, you should see either a list of numerical year levels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, depending on if you're primary or secondary. And then you should have another option in there for your staff. Okay, so that could be staff, teachers, however you have set it up in your database in the past. Okay, so if this user is in year 9, go ahead and select 9. Okay, we've then got our homeroom field. Okay, same thing, select the homeroom that this particular student is going to be in and put that into the field there. Okay, the next field down is called our user role. Now this is really, really important. When we're creating new users, by default, they are always going to be considered a student by SmartSuite-Library. Now the reason behind that is we don't accidentally want to give a student teacher access, especially if you've got TV for education. We don't want them having full access to 160,000 video titles, including M, MA, and R-rated videos. Okay, so by default, all your students or all your users, are given a role of student. If we need to change it because we're not adding a year 9, we're actually adding a staff member, go ahead and click the cross next to student. That will remove that role from them. Click the field again, and we can go ahead and select teacher. Okay, if we're setting up a user in our system and they're going to help us out with some circulation, we can also go ahead and select circulation desk. So that's going to give them not only search permissions so they can search for books in the library, they'll also be able to open up the circulation screen and start transacting books to your users as well. Okay, there are a list of other users that are in there with different permissions in the system, and we'll go through that in another session in a more advanced session later on. Okay, so in this circumstance, we're going to go ahead and, sorry, not teacher, select the student. Okay. Before we do anything, before we navigate away, we've made some changes to the system, so we do need to hit save. Okay, again, the command is down in the toolbar, and we've got our save button. Okay, now before I do that, over on the right-hand side, we've got this option here, email login. Now that's always going to be selected by default. And what this is going to do is email whoever we're setting up on the system here a little note to say, here's the URL to log onto your library management system, here's your username, and here's the password. Okay, so if you do not want that email to go out to that user, make sure that you deselect it. 9 times out of 10, you're going to leave that selected by default, and the system will email them so that they can log in, check their loans, check their overdues, whilst they're not actually at school or in the library. Okay, so we're going to leave that ticked by default, hit save. System's going to do a quick check for me, make sure that the user isn't already in my system. If they're not in my system, it's going to give us a little warning that it's going to automatically generate a random password for this user. Okay, we're okay with that, so we'll click on OK. It's going to insert that into the database for us, and we can now start circulating to the user using that barcode. Okay. If this user is no longer in our school and we want to remove them from our system, once again, system menu, patron management, if you're not already in the patron management screen, locate the user, okay, once their details are on the screen, back in our toolbar, we have the delete button. Okay, if there are any loans against that user, any overdues or any messages that we need to be made aware of, when we click delete, the system is going to double check that for us, okay, and give us a warning. It'll tell us these books are on loan to the user, and it will force us to mark those items as lost before we can delete them. Okay, if there are no issues, we can click OK, and it's going to remove that user from the system for us. Okay, so managing our users, adding them to the system, making changes and deleting, fairly straightforward. Just a matter of paying attention to what those commands do down in the toolbar. Okay, we do also have the ability to import patrons into the system. Once again, we'll deal with that in a more advanced session, but you don't have to worry that the system isn't capable of doing that. So we do have integrations with some learning managements where it can happen automatically. If your learning management system isn't one of those that we can integrate with, all you need to do is prepare a CSV file with all your patrons' information, and using this module here, import that information into the system. Okay, nice and easy. The next thing that we're going to look at is going to be how we manage our catalog. Okay, all the physical resources and web links that are in our library collection. Okay, now before we go on, I just want to remind everyone, if you do have any comments, you do have any questions, please feel free to chuck them into the chat panel on the right-hand side of your screen. I can see the panel there. We don't have any questions as of yet, but I'd love to answer them in the session for you today. Okay. So when we're dealing with our books, we need to go to the cataloging area. Now the way that we do that, click on the menu system in the top left-hand corner, scroll down to our catalog, and then select catalog from the sub-menu. Okay, and just like a collection of all of our users under patron management, we're going to see our collection of all of our resources in the cataloging screen. Okay, the system is controlled by tabs. Okay, so at the moment we're looking at a title here called 60 minutes. Okay, Underneath 60 minutes, we can see the basic information. So this contains the title, the ISBN, the collation, the media type of the book. If I then go ahead and click on the copy tab, it's going to show me all the copies that are available for this resource. If I go across, I can see any genres that have been applied, any subjects, any URLs that are linked to it, and I can go through and just keep clicking on all the different pieces of information that relates to the title that's active at the top of the screen. Okay. Once again, down below in the toolbar, if I'm looking for a particular resource, I can click Find, put in a search term, once the resources loads, I can go through and then select one of those search results for me to have a look at the cataloging information. Okay. Now down in the toolbar, we still have our new save and delete buttons, but you can see some of them have been combined and they do have two buttons that are a part of the same button itself. Okay, so new is one of those, and you can see on the left-hand side we've got the new option, and on the right-hand side you've got an up arrow. Now what this is telling us is that under the new button we actually have a number of different options that we can choose from. Okay, so if I was to click the left part of that button, it would simply just create a brand new title for me. However, if I select the up arrow, I can choose from creating a new title, bulk importing a number of titles into my system, creating a new copy for the title that's active on the screen, completing bulk copies, or uploading covers. Okay, so if I wanted to catalog a brand new title, this particular resource isn't available on SCIS, we want to just create it through original cataloging, I can click the up arrow and choose new title. And just like what happened with our patrons, it blanks out the screen and we can go ahead and start typing in all the information for our record. Okay, so I'm going to do that now. I'm going to give it a title. This is a training article for new users. Okay, so obviously the title will be the title of your book or the title of the resource that you're wanting to catalog into your system. If the book has an ISBN, you can go ahead and scan that ISBN there. If you wanted to add the US mark ID, you can put that in there. Call number, the edition, collation, security. Once again, we'll go through security in another advanced session. Media type. Okay, and the accession date will be pre-filled once we hit save. Okay, so that's all of the title information for the new book that we want to add in. But let's say that we also at this point in time want to add some subjects to make it easier for our clients to search for the resource. Go across to our subject tab, place our cursor into the top field. Okay, all of these subjects here are subjects that are already in our database. So as we start typing, it's going to reduce that list to just the FICs or the subjects that start with FIC. Okay, the more we type, the smaller that list is going to get. Okay, I can select from the list, okay, and it automatically creates a new line for us so we can add additional information. Okay, if we wanted to add something on the fly, type in the subject as you want it to appear for all of your other resources that will be tied to that subject. Okay, so make sure that you've got your spelling right, your punctuation, capitalization. Okay, so if we wanted capital Q, capital T, capital S for Quentin's training subject, make sure you enter it that way. Okay, we can go back to the authority file editor and update it later on, but of course if we do it right the first time, we don't have to worry about it later on. Okay, so once we've added that in, okay, we can see a little plus symbol on the right hand side of that box. Go ahead and click on that and it's going to say, this isn't a subject, are you sure you want to add it to the database? And we go okay. Okay, and that's inserted it into the database for all of our future searches when we're doing subjects. and it's also going to insert it for this particular title. Okay, we can go ahead and continue adding URLs and series information and additional titles. All of those fields act the same as what we just saw with our subjects. Okay, once we've completed adding all the information for our records, you guessed it, down the bottom, save under the toolbar. Okay, system's going to do a check for us. If we're not missing any mandatory information, it's going to insert that directly into the database. Okay, if there are issues, it'll produce a pop-up message saying you have missed your media type, please select a media type, for example. Okay. Once we've added our title information in, we can now go and assign a copy. And the copy is going to be what stores the barcode of the physical resources, as well as where it's going to be stored and how long a book can be on loan for. Okay, this can be done under the copy tab. Okay, so at the moment, we don't have any copies. Okay, the barcode is blank, it's highlighted in blue. That's telling us that this is a new record. Okay, if I click the plus symbol, it's going to expand the copy area so I can see all the fields that are available when I'm entering in a new copy. Okay, so from here, I can put my cursor in, grab my barcode scanner, and scan the barcode that has been assigned or stuck onto that book. Okay, the copy number is automatically created by the system, okay, and it's going to be in ascending order. So if we already had 3 copies, when we click that plus symbol to see all of the copy information, the copy number would be number 4 because we've already catalogued 3 of them. Okay, you do have the ability to override that. So if copy number 2 got damaged and you've bought another book to replace it, you can change that to number 2 instead of number 4. Okay, we've got our copy status. Okay, so the copy status here will be available in accession on the circulation desk. Okay, all of your copy statuses are customizable. The system does come predefined with a host of copy statuses. And again, when you click, you can see a list of those. Okay, if you wanted to add your own, simply like you saw before, type in how you want it to appear, taking note of your punctuation, spelling, and grammar, and then click that plus symbol. Okay, you've then got your location and sublocation. Okay, users that have come from other systems get a bit nervous with these 2 identifiers. The way that I like to think about it is the location is the physical building where that book is going to be stored. Okay, if all of your books are only stored in the library, then that would be listed as library or resource center. Okay, some schools have A block, B block, C block, resource center, textbook hire is the physical building of where that resource is going to be stored. Okay, sublocation is the area within that physical building. Okay, so in most circumstances, you'll see something like location is resource center, sublocation is the fiction area. Okay, or location A block, sublocation room 32. Okay, and it's just up to you as to how you want to prepare that. It does give you that 2 levels for storing information as to where that book is stored. Okay, you don't have to adhere to that rule. If you've got a better way that's going to make sense to the way that you need to run your library, by all means, make sure the information is relevant to you. Okay, moving along, we've got our loan and renew types. So this is how long can this resource be loaned for? 7 days, 14 days, a month, a semester. Okay, again, clicking on it will allow you to select a new loan type or renew type, and all the other information that's related there. So how much did the book cost us? If we need to replace it, we need to factor in admin costs, putting new barcodes on it, covering it, etc., etc. And then a few other tick boxes there. Okay, once you've put all that information in, again, down the bottom of the screen, you've got a save button. click on save. And that's now inserted the new copy into the system for us. Okay, you can see that we've now got a grey bar. Okay, that is the saved copy, and underneath it we've got the blue bar. Okay, blue bar will always, in catalog, will always mean put in new information here for a new book. Okay. When we're looking at the screen, okay, we can see that we've only got a limited number of fields. Okay, if we wanted to expand copy number 1 and see all the information that has been catalogued against this copy, including how much it cost, who it's on loan to, etc. Left-hand side, there's a little down arrow that will allow us to expand that information out. Okay, at the bottom of that individual copy, we have its own toolbar, which allow us to perform a number of different actions. First one being duplicate. Okay, that will go and copy all the information from copy number 1 into copy number 2. We can scan a new barcode and hit save down the bottom. Okay, once that's been done, we can now see copy number 1 and copy number 2, and then of course our blue line if we wanted to catalog a brand new book instead of using the duplicate function. Okay, if our books are on loan, I'm going to quickly circulate this book to one of our users, and I will be going through circulation in one moment, so don't panic too much that I'm jumping around the screens real quick. Okay, so I'm coming back to my training catalog record here. Okay, so here's the record that we just created. When I go to copy, I can see that I've got 2 copies. One of them is available, which is copy number 2, and one of them is available, which is copy number 1. Okay, if I want to see who has copy number 1 from the cataloging screen, expand copy number 1 by clicking on the expand on the left-hand side. And in that command bar for that copy, I can see that it's on loan to Quentin from year 12. And it's due back on the 4th of February, which is in 1 day from today. Okay, if we wanted to send them a reminder to make sure that that book comes back, Quentin is renowned for not bringing books back on time. Clicking that little envelope icon will automatically send that user an email saying, just a reminder, you have these books on loan and they are due back in 1 day. Okay, so nice and easy. If we need to do any deletions, and we're just dealing with deletes one at a time, we're not doing any bulk weeding or anything like that, be very, very careful of the button that's down here in the toolbar. Okay, now we've specifically called it the delete title button because what it's going to do is it's going to delete all the information from all of these tabs. So, sorry, not all the information from the tabs, but it's going to remove this title from the system. Okay, so if we have a look here, it's going to keep Fiction, Betrayal, Fantasy, Quentin's Training Subject in the database. So other books that are tied to it can still use that subject, but it's going to remove the title from the system. Okay, it's also going to delete both of these copies from the system as well. So the delete button down the bottom here is going to be detrimental if you're only meaning to delete one barcode. Okay, if you're only wanting to delete one barcode, come to the copy area, expand the copy that you want to delete, and in the in the toolbar for the copy that you've expanded, click the delete button in there. Okay, it's going to give you a warning. Are you sure you're wanting to delete just this specific barcode? Yes, I am. And it will remove that from the system for you. Okay, if you are wanting to go ahead and use the big delete button, and delete the title and all the associated copies, we've put a few extra checks and balances, okay? So it's going to come up and give you a count of how many copies are in there, and it's going to force you to type YES into the box. Once you've done that, you can click confirm. If I don't have yes and I try and click, nothing's going to happen. So I do need to type YES and then click confirm. Okay, once I've done that, it's going to go ahead, check for any of those imbalances. So in this case, we've still got a book that's on loan. Okay, but if there were no issues, it'll remove that from the system. Okay, so the system is going to double check for us if there are books on loan, if there's any issues with items, so they're in repair for whatever reason, it'll check for that before we delete the trace of it in the system. Okay, so if anything that you walk away from the session today, just make a very, very good note. Delete under the copy is to delete the individual barcode. Delete title in the toolbar at the bottom of the screen is going to remove that title and all the copies that are associated with it. Okay. Now there are some other cool features that are part of catalog that we're going to go through in an advanced session. We're not going to go through today just because of the amount of information that we're going to be pushing through to you just to get you up off the ground. But please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for those future updates, and I'll show you how to do that at the end of this session today. Okay, so we've done adding a new user, and we've also done adding catalog records manually. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is how do we import books from SCIS. Okay, so first thing we need to do is navigate to what we refer to as global catalog. So again, top left-hand corner, system menu, then we go to catalog, and then we choose global catalog. Okay, now this is where we do all of our importing of books from SCIS. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do when you load up the system is make sure that your SCIS username and password have been configured into the system. Okay, so the way that we do that, from the toolbar at the bottom of the screen, click the up arrow next to configuration, then choose Z3950 database. Our systems will always come pre-configured with the SCIS details by default. Okay, and all you need to do is make sure that the username is correct for your SCIS account and you've typed in the correct password. Once you've done that, click update and your username and password has been saved. The next thing that you need to do is to make sure that your SCIS account has been activated for Z3950 access. Okay, now this isn't a FSI task. This is a task that you need to talk directly to SCIS about. So you need to contact SCIS through their support portal, and you need to ask them to activate the Z3950. Okay, so Z39.50, Z3950 access on your SCIS account. Okay, and my recommendation is to also give them your SCIS username so that they can match it up and make sure that it's done correctly. Okay, they will give you a little email to say your SCIS account now has access to Z3950. Please make sure that these details are in your system, which you don't need to worry about because we've already put those into the system by default. Okay, but once you receive that email back from them to say yes, it's all done on their side, you can then start using the SCIS, the global catalog system to import books from SCIS. Okay. Now, when you come to global catalog, it looks a little bit overwhelming, but what's happening here is on the left-hand side, we've given you the ability to predefine all of the copy information that's going to be assigned to all the books that you are importing from the SCIS database. Okay, so anything that I scan from right this moment is going to be given a security of 5. It's going to be in the location primary library with a sublocation of fiction, fortnightly loan periods, copy status of fiction, cost center blended learning, the supplier was Bunnings, and here's the cost of these books. Okay, now the reason why we've done that for you is so that you don't have to import the books into your library, then go to a different screen, which is your catalog, and then update all the information. You can actually do it right here. Okay, so we can go through here, we can make any changes. So the books aren't going to be in the primary library, they're going to be stored in the Gorman Learning Center. It's going to have a sublocation of Art Middle, loan period of overnight, copy status of available, and the supplier was not Bunnings, it was ACP. Okay, when I scan my books in now, it's going to apply all of that information as the copy info. So let me just quickly grab an ISBN. Bear with me one moment. Okay, so when I go to import this book in a moment, it's going to assign this information here as the copy information. Okay, so the way that we run it, number 1, tell the system what copy information we would like to assign for the book. Step 2, we put our cursor into this field at the top here. We grab our barcode scanner, we scan the ISBN that's on the book. System will automatically move the field to the barcode, and then we scan the barcode on the book. Okay, if we've got multiple books to import, all we then do is we scan the next ISBN and the next barcode. Okay, we do not need to pause between each book. We don't need to move the cursor manually. All we need to do is grab our barcode scanner and go scan, scan, next book, scan, scan, next book, scan, scan. Okay, if any of these books are going to have different information, we pause at that point in time, go over to the left-hand side, change the relevant information, and then continue our scanning process. Okay, all the items that have a green import completed bar means that they have imported successfully into the catalog. Their copy information has been applied, as you see it on the left-hand side, and the barcode has been successfully applied against the book. Anything with a red no item found message means that we weren't able to find it in the SCIS database, and you'll need to go ahead and catalog that manually. Okay, so you can grab those ISBNs, put them aside, and deal with them later. Okay, if I click on the title of anything that's been successfully imported, that will take me straight over to the catalog looking at that particular record, so I can verify that the information is correct, or I can go ahead and add additional subjects, add my own notations, and maybe just verify that the copy information is correct. Okay, so it's taking me straight to that copy. There it is there, number 3, and all the information that we had on the left-hand side of the screen has been assigned to the copy for me. Okay, if I needed to make any changes, add some comments to the book, okay, I can do so, hit save down the bottom. And once that saves, I can close the tab at the top of the screen here. And that'll take me back to my catalog screen. Sorry, my global cataloging screen. Okay. So importing of books from SCIS, very, very easy. Top left-hand side, clicking on System menu, Catalog, followed by Global Catalog. Okay, left-hand side, we assign the copy information for the books that we want to import. Put our cursor in ISBN and go scan, 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 scan. Okay, when we need to change the copy information, pause our scanning, change the information on the left, put our cursor back up there, scan, 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 scan. Okay, nice and easy. Now, just a reminder, if there are any questions, please feel free to put them into the chat panel on the right-hand side of the video player. Okay, if you are in full screen, please make sure that you close the full screen view and you'll see the chat panel on the right-hand side. Okay. Now that we've gone through adding users and cataloging both via original cataloging and global catalog, we're going to have a quick talk about spline labels. Okay, so we've just imported a variety of books, okay, and we want to print out spline labels for all the items that were successfully imported into our system. Okay, one of the first things that you need to do the first time that you go to print a spline label is open up Global Catalog, come over to the up arrow next to Configuration, and choose the option Default Spline Label. Now, out of the box, SmartSuite comes with integration or reports for a number of different labels. Okay, they are the Alice brand labels, Raycode 12601, 0203, 04. Okay, you do have the ability to customize those a little bit further. So you may want to have the 12601 in purple for all your primary labels and the 12601 in green for all your secondary labels. And you can do that through the reports module, but that will be something that we'll go through in a more advanced session. Okay, but out of the box, what you need to do is you need to select one of these label formats to be the default that we're going to print the spline labels to. Okay, if you aren't running one of these, please go and have a chat to your supplier about which one of these labels will be the best for you. Okay, so if I go ahead and select 12601, go ahead and click Save. Now, all that's going to happen is when I click the print button, it's going to send it to the 12601 label. Okay, so once I've imported my books and I have my green successfully imported options, I want to print my spline labels, and all I need to do is come over to the right hand side of the screen and click Print. Sorry, I need to refresh my screen. Okay, so once we've selected the default spline label, okay, we need to go ahead and refresh that screen. So all we're going to do is just go back up to our menu, Catalog and Global Catalog. Okay, so we go through and we import all of our books now that we've set the default spline label and click Print. Okay, it's going to open up a second tab. It's going to pull all the barcodes that we've just imported into the report, and it's going to load those up for us. Okay, here is my 12601 report. So if I had additional additional titles or copies that I wanted to print spline labels for, I can put my cursor at the top of the screen here, and I can put those barcodes in. Okay, if I've finished scanning them, go down to my toolbar and hit Generate. It's going to extract all the spline labels for those additional titles, okay, and display them on the screen. Okay, from here, I've got the ability to print it. Okay, but one important thing that we need to know about is how do we deal with a situation where we've only used 50% of our spline label sheet. Okay, so let's say that we've just finished a spline label job, okay, and only used 4 labels or 5 labels from the next sheet. We want to continue using that sheet. We don't want to just waste paper and throw that in the bin. So what we need you to do is we need you to hold the report in your hand and count left to right. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And what we're doing is we're counting how many labels have been used in the previous session. Okay, if we've used 8 labels, in here we need to type 8. And the system is going to start printing from label number 9. Okay, so to illustrate this, if I tell the system that I've used 3, and then I click generate again, it's going to start printing from label number 4. And we can see that there's a blank gap in label number 1, label number 2, label number 3, and it started printing from label number 4. Okay, once we've done that, click the up arrow next to print and go export to PDF. Okay, that's going to prepare that report for us to send it to the printer and download it here in your browser. Okay, now there is a little bit of a trick with some of our browsers. Okay, if I click on this item here, it's going to load that in my internet browser, whether it's Chrome, Safari, or Edge. Okay, most of the time that is going to cause us a bit of headache with how that's going to print out at the end, because Chrome then goes and puts its own margins on all of the print jobs. Same with Edge and Safari and Mozilla. Okay, so what we want you to do is we want you to access the download folder on your computer. Okay, and we want you to open up the file in Adobe, okay, or a similar PDF viewer. We don't want you to open it up in your internet browser. Okay, once you've done that, you can then go to print and send that to your printer. Okay. So printing spline labels is fairly simple as well. Again, all of the commands are done through the toolbar at the bottom of the screen. Okay, we've gone through patrons and adding your items, whether it's original cataloging or through Globe Catalog. The next thing we're going to have a quick look at is, now that we've got our patrons and our catalogs, we want to be able to loan the books out to our users. Okay, so the way that we do that, top left-hand side, System menu, circulation, and circulation again. Okay, and here's our circulation screen. Now down the bottom we've got our toolbar, so this is going to allow us to do a few different commands on resources that are on loan. Okay, but we really want to pay attention to these two tabs at the top of the screen here. Blue screen means that we are on the loans tab, and we're going to start loaning books to users. Clicking on return, screen goes orange. We're now going to return items back into the library. Okay, so just make sure that you're in the correct mode before you start entering things into the input field at the top. Okay, if we are looking at the loan tab, first thing we need to do is bring up the user. Now we can do this by typing in their barcode, first name, surname, email address, username. Okay, whatever's going to work best for you. When we type a couple of letters, it's going to query the database and bring back any results for anything that matches what we've put in. Okay, in this case, I'm going to choose my user, Quentin Fernandez. Okay, any issues with this user, it's going to display them before we get into the loan screen. Okay, so it's telling us that Quentin has 2 reserved items that are available, and it's going to allow me to print and email the reservation slips. Okay, and I can also see that there's a couple of comments that are against Quentin's name, as well as an overdue. Okay, so if I'm happy with all of those, I can click OK. If I say to the user, look, you've got too much stuff going on in your account, you need to bring back the overdue before I can loan you any more books, I can click cancel and then move on to the next user. Okay, in this case, I'm going to click OK. And once I've clicked OK, left-hand side is the active borrower. So I can see some basic information on this user, first name, barcode, year level, and their loan limits. Okay, I can see the total limits. and I can also see how many are available. So because I've got a limit of 1 and I've already got a couple of books on loan, it's telling me that I've got no more available. Okay, top of the screen, same field where we searched for the patron. All we need to do is start scanning the books that we want this user to borrow. Okay, any issues, it's going to produce a message for us to look at. Okay, in this case, the item that I've scanned is part of a kit, and it's telling me that I also need to make sure that these other resources are loaned out with this one. Okay. When I'm scanning, the items information that is expanded is the most recently circulated book. Okay, so I can see here scope trees, that's expanded. If I'm quickly going through and scanning all my books and I get distracted and I don't know where I'm at, if I glance at the screen, the one that's expanded is the last one that I've dealt with. Okay, so scope trees, if I then go ahead and scan my next item, so I'll choose a proper barcode there. Okay, I've got an error message. My borrowing limit is exceeded. I'm going to bypass that. Scope trees has now compacted, and Natural Australia is now the expanded title. So this is the last one that I've circulated. Okay, any books that have been successfully loaned and are on loan to this user have an alternating color scheme of white and blue. Anything that's overdue is red. Okay, and if we can scroll across the line there, we can see that it's overdue by 3 days. It was due back on the 1st of Feb. Okay, if there is a book that is due back today, when we bring up the screen, it's highlighted in a different color again. So if you see, I believe it's a green one, if you see an item that's highlighted in green, that's telling you that this should be brought back today. It's not overdue, it's not due in the future, it's meant to be due today. Okay, so you can query that with the user before you loan any more items to them. If we wanted to return any resources, click on return and simply start scanning the barcodes of all those books. Okay. Any issues with any of those books, there's patron traps, there's a reservation out for that particular item, it's part of a kit. Any of those items, it's going to bring up the comments, the information, and allow you to deal with it at that point in time. Okay. There's no alerts that are highlighted differently on this screen. There's just an alternating color scheme of white and orange to tell you that it's been circulated back into the library successfully. Okay, if we wanted to bring up a new user, there's no new user button or anything like that. You just switch back to the loan tab, look up the name of another patron. All their information is on the left-hand side of the screen, and you start circulating the books to them. Okay, no books listed on the screen when we first bring them up means that they have no active loans. Okay, so circulation is fairly easy. So in the session that we've done today, we have gone through how to manage our users. Okay, system menu, patron, and then patron management. We've gone through how do I catalog and delete items manually, and I do that by system menu, catalog, and catalog. We've had a look at our global cataloging system. So again, system menu, catalog, and then global catalog. And then we've had a look at our circulation system. System menu, circulation, and then circulation. Okay, the last thing that I'm going to talk to you about before we close the session today is we've got an understanding of how to use the basics of the system to get us operational and to start transacting books through our library. But we want to ask some questions, or we want to upskill and learn more about the system. Okay, we've got one area where you can go to find all that information. So if I go to System Menu, down the bottom we have Support. Okay, under Support we have the first option, which is Contact. Okay, so if you're wanting to talk to our customer service team members, ask them a question, you've got an error that's coming up that you can't get past, you're having some dramas with a particular colleague receiving their welcome letter, click on Contact Support. Okay, this is going to take you over to your mailbox. Okay, so all the questions that anyone or any administrators at your school have asked us in the past, they're going to be listed here so you can have a look at the email trail and find out what's going on. You also have the ability to click Create and start a brand new ticket. Okay, so you are dealing with our customer service team members here. It's not an automated robot. Give it a subject so that it helps you remember which queries you're dealing with. This is a list of available users that you can CC into this list. Okay, so if they are listed there, they're not going to receive it. If they are selected, they are going to receive it. Type in your message. So if I go, this is a question for customer service, and I want Quentin to be CC'd on it. Hi guys, just wondering if you could please send me a link to the recorded session from today. Thanks heaps. Okay, when we send that off, our customer service team members, they're going to receive that on their end and they'll respond back to you. Okay, so you'll see the message come up here. You'll get an email notification to say that we have responded to your query. If you come back here, you'll then be able to chat back and have a bit of a dialogue with our customer service team members. Okay, if you need to upload any screenshots or CSV files or anything, there's a little upload button there. Okay. Make sure that if we have answered your question appropriately, that you do also go ahead and close that off. Just helps our customer service team manage the open tickets. Okay, going back to our support option, we then also have another option there, which is search for help. Okay, so if I click that, it goes to a new tab, and here is a articles website where we can have a look at all the functions that are available within our system. Okay, so if I do a search for let's go catalog. Okay, here's all of the articles that we've got on anything to do with cataloging. Okay, so generating spline labels, managing kits, bulk importing records. I think I saw a good one before, how do I catalog laptops? Okay, I can open that up. And there's the instructions for me on how am I going to catalog a laptop into my system. Okay. So there's your help. We then also have another option here, which is training videos. Okay, so every week we're going to be doing at least one of these sessions a week for new users. And then every day we've got mini series that we're going to be doing just to keep everyone upskilled. Okay, and they're going to be covering topics like how do I catalog a laptop? How do I circulate books with different due dates to what is in the patron settings? How do I catalog websites? How do my users create bibliographies for referencing lists? So they're going to be more compact sessions. They'll be anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes rather than a full-blown session like today. If you want to get notification of those events when they're coming up and when they're starting, click on training videos and make sure that you're logged in with a Google account. Okay, so your Gmail accounts, whether it's a personal one or school, okay, and click subscribe. Okay, when you do that, you'll get notification of when we list any of those videos. Okay, and you'll also be able to go in and have a look at all of the mini-series, the coffee and chats, the user trainings, start of year procedure videos that we're posting to that channel every week. Okay, so it's a nice and easy way to keep upskilled with the product that you're subscribing to. Okay, another option in there is the Fsi User Community. Okay, so if you are a Facebook user, all of our administrators across Australia are starting to join in with our Facebook community group. Okay, this allows you to ask questions from not only our customer service team members, but other library administrators. Okay, we do encourage all of our users to jump on and not just ask questions about SmartSuite, but also questions about suppliers, for books or barcode labels, asking questions about how you deal with engaging your students. So this is a safe community that is locked to functional solutions users, both for the SmartSuite-Library and TV for Education products. You can connect, you can ask questions. We're also going to be highlighting events specifically for the Fsi User Community group. Okay, so all the other users that aren't part of the Fsi group aren't getting notification. And in the last 6 months, I think we gave away an iPad, Galaxy tablets, a couple of JB Hi-Fi vouchers, and some movie tickets as well. Okay, so all of those are only going to be exclusively to the Fsi user group community. So if you haven't already done so, make sure that you jump on, click on support an Fsi user community and join that group. Okay, you will get exclusive access to a lot of stuff that we're doing there. The final one is our principal manual. Okay, this is called our Quick Start Guide. Now, it contains a little bit of information, but what we would expect most of our users to start doing in the first 6 months of having the system. Okay, so you can print this one off. You can also access it online. But everything we've gone through today, importing from SCIS, manually adding records, printing spline labels, loaning items. We've got some additional information like creating lessons, using the Smart Classrooms module, stock taking, reporting, etc., etc. Okay, so all you need to do is jump in, go to the particular section that's relevant to you, and have a look at the instructions there. Okay, so if you're someone that doesn't like the online help, you do have access to print that off. Okay. Other than that, it's all about just jumping in and having a play. There's not a lot that you can do to break the system, as long as you're not hitting a delete button or doing any global changes where you're affecting more than one record at a time. There's not a lot of damage that you can do to the system and your collection. Okay, so that's the conclusion of our SmartSuite-Library new user training session. My name is Quentin. Thank you very much for attending the session today. I'm going to leave the session open for a couple more minutes. If anyone does have any questions after having a look at everything that we do, please make sure that you chuck it into the chat on the right-hand side of your screen. I'll see those and I'll respond to them. Otherwise, if you would like to access this event after we finish it, subscribe to the YouTube channel and you'll be able to watch it over there. So once again, thank you very much for attending, and we'll see you next time when you join one of our YouTube live events.